2009 Chevy Express 2500 with the 4.8 V8, and today we're going to be replacing the drive belt. Let's get to it. First up, we're going to go ahead and remove our intake box. The intake box is held in at the front with two 10mm bolts, a connector for your mass airflow sensor, and a little hose clamp, there we go, that you can remove with either a flathead screwdriver or I believe a 10mm, but that might be an 8mm, but that's about it to remove the box. Let's get to it. Alright, the hose clamp is an 8mm, but the angle is pretty bad, so I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm going to have to use a flathead screwdriver. And while you've got that flathead screwdriver, come on over to your connector. It has a safety tab on it. You're just going to need to get underneath of that with a flathead screwdriver and gently pry that up and fly it across the room. Just kidding. But make sure you don't lose it. So you can just pop it back in. Go ahead and squeeze the connector clip down here at the bottom and pull out. And then you can just tuck this out of the way somewhere. That looks good to me. And I'm actually just gonna go ahead and put this clip back in right there. So it's not locked in, but when you reconnect it, you just press this gray piece down and it'll lock it in. Grab that screwdriver and we can go ahead and start removing our hose clamp. All right. Now for this next step, you do not need to remove the upper fan shroud assembly. For the video's sake, because I'm trying to make a nice video and show you guys all the steps and the processes, I will be removing this. Again, you do not need to remove this. It's a little bit cramped in there, but you shouldn't really have any issue with doing this job for the alternator or doing this job for the drive belt or whatever have you. This is strictly for educational purposes. First thing I want to do, go ahead and remove our overflow tank. And rotate that out of the way. Next, on each side, there are three 10mm bolts. And normally this piece for the upper radiator hose, you can see it has this protrusion right here. This would actually be stuck inside that little hole, but this one does not have that. So, and last but not least, I'm going to remove these two 10mm bolts right here. like I'm gonna have to remove my intake tubing as well, which is just another flathead screwdriver, but it needs to be a stubby. Got my little stubby screwdriver, flathead. Thank you. Unnecessary. And we'll go ahead and put a temporary zip tie around our upper radiator hose. All right. So again, for educational purposes only, we have removed the upper radiator shroud. You do not need to do this. I just did this so that I would have a much better view for the camera and for the audience of whoever's watching. Now, located right here is your tensioner, your drive belt, obviously, your idler pulley, alternator, your power steering pump. Your water pump is located directly behind your fan, and below that will be your crank, and right over here on this side is your AC compressor. So in order to relieve the tension off of the tensioner, we're gonna need to grab ourselves a 15mm ratchet. With your fan shroud still on, you can use a gear wrench ratchet like this, just slip in there pretty well. Or they have specialized tools. For me, I would probably just use a ratchet. And if I needed the extra torque, I would perform a double ratchet and use that to get it done. But we can go ahead, rotate in a tightening or clockwise rotation. And we just reach over here on top of the alternator and pull this belt off. And actually, even easier than the alternator, I'm gonna put that in. The idler pulley is a smooth pulley. You can just slide that right off of that. So, I wish I had thought of that first before saying the alternator. Let go. But I did not. Oh well. And go ahead and undo everything off of there and remove your old drive belt. And for anybody that needs to see it, here is our drive belt diagram. Your main crank, around the water pump, around the power steering pump, over the alternator, around the tensioner, and over the tensioner. Your AC compressor has its own belt system, and that loops behind your main belt. So we won't be replacing that. This video is just for the main belt or the alternator. So, you know, do with this video what you will. And if you need to freeze this picture, just go ahead and pause the video. Go ahead and put everything else back together in reverse order. But other than that, if this video helped you out, consider watching this one right here. I made that one just for you. Other than that, if this video helped you out, leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see y'all next time.